Hi, everybody. This is a slideshow on how to conduct research, why to use the library, how to use the TCC library databases, and a final slide on how you can use Google to research. So I'm going to go through these slides and talk about the steps toward finding research for your paper. So why use the library and not Google to find research for your paper? One of the reasons is that TCC subscribes to dozens of professional databases that contain full-text articles from reputable peer-reviewed journals. Now, why is that important? These kinds of journals are usually more accurate, authoritative, and credible than something that you may find on Google. Peer-reviewed means that colleagues of the article's author, so normally professors who are writing and studying the same subject, have read the article, reviewed it, and based on depth and breadth of argument have published it. And many articles submitted for peer review do not get published. So looking for peer-reviewed journal articles always gives you a step up in your research and how credible it is. Google Scholar does have some good articles too. They may be the same ones you find in the library databases, or they may not. Some databases on Google Scholar actually make you log in with your own library to read the article anyway, like JSTOR. So if you find an article on Google Scholar, that's fine. You'll still have to retrieve it through our library. In order to get to the library, of course, you just use your username and password for WebAdvisor or for Blackboard to just log in and get all of the information there. So here are a few slides now on how to use the TCC databases. So what I've done is I've taken some screenshots of the different pictures and the steps that you'll take in getting to the databases. This is the library homepage. This is the top of the library homepage. Nowadays, there's a lot of information at the top about COVID and library hours and how you can contact librarians. But once you scroll past that, you'll see two areas. TCC Catalog is on the left, and TCC Article Databases is on the right. I always stay on the right side, the one that says TCC Article Databases, and then click Browse Subjects. Notice that I've circled Browse Subjects, and I'll circle it again here. So now, once you've clicked Browse Subjects, it starts alphabetically at A at the top with all of the subjects and all of the databases that TCC subscribes to. Once you get to L, so we're at L, we start at A, you'll stop at Literature, Criticism, and Interpretation. And notice that in Literature, Criticism, and Interpretation, there are 10 different databases to choose from. You may find different information and articles and research in each one. So I would check as many of these throughout your research process as possible. So what I'm going to do is lead you through the Literature Resource Center. This one right here. So click on that one, would be the next step. So what comes up is Gale Literature Resource Center at the very top. And what you do in the search bar is you type the title of your story. So one of the stories to start with that you're researching. So I typed The Yellow Wallpaper. And once I typed The Yellow Wallpaper, the word short story automatically came up. And what came up was 71 pieces of literature criticism, 4 biographies, 14 topic and work overviews, 24 reviews and news, 5 primary sources and literary works, and 1 multimedia. So notice that the literature criticism is in bold. If you want to look at that first, there are 71 articles that you can scroll through and look at. So what I've decided to do is just look at the very first one here. So I'm going to the next slide to show you what I did. And you look at the titles that you believe will help with your thesis and analysis. That's why you need a thesis sentence. That's why you need this brainstorming, so that you can know the direction that you're taking before you start working on your rough draft. I actually clicked the first title on the list. It was called The Yellow Wallpaper. And as I'm scrolling through those 71 sources, I may find some with titles that don't seem to have anything to do with what I'm talking about. And so I just skip those altogether. You only need 2 articles per story for a total of 4 pieces of research. I put that in the assignment. I'm reiterating that to you here. So this is the first page of that article called The Yellow Wallpaper. So I scrolled all the way through the article and I started skimming the beginning. I read parts of it to see if it would help my paper. Now the plot and the major characters, none of that is really going to help me. This is an analytical paper. You're not really concentrating on plot, but I did come to a section called Major Themes. So that looked interesting to me, and I began reading that paragraph, and I like some of these ideas, and I may actually quote them in my paper. I highlighted a couple of them here that if I were writing a paper on the yellow wallpaper, and one of the things I was talking about was the notion of feminism and gender roles, there's a sentence here that says, "The inadequacy of the patriarchal medical profession in treating women's health is further indicated by the narrator's fear of being sent to the famous Dr. Weir, proponent of the rest cure treatment." And there's an earlier sentence about her husband. So I know I may use this article as one of my articles of research, and I therefore know that I need to email and/or print this article from the library. And the next slides will show you how to do that. So I scrolled down to the end and I noticed that there's a source citation. And this citation, you can just copy and paste the citation. It actually ends right here. Not the word disclaimer, but right there. And put that in your own works cited page. Sometimes, depending on which database you're using, you may not have a citation like this at the end. And also notice that the MLA 8th edition is clicked already. But see at the top, there's the word cite. So you could go up there and click and get a citation. Whatever database you're in, you should be looking for the citation and where you can get it, because the vast majority of these databases will already cite the article for you. Also, notice that there's a send to button, and that's where you can send it to your email. You can download it onto your hard drive, you can print it. And that's in this database, the Literature Resource Center. And remember, there are 9 other databases to look at as well. So that's the gist of conducting research in those databases. And you would go through the whole process again from the beginning with the other databases. As I said, some of the articles may overlap from one database to the next, but there are some articles that are only in certain databases that you won't be able to find in others. Be sure you send the article to your email and/or print it. Don't forget the citation. And in your mailbox for your TCC email, you can have as many articles as you want. You're not necessarily going to use all of those. You could collect 20 articles and know that maybe eventually in the next couple of weeks you'll get through to reading them. Don't be hesitant, therefore, to send every article that seems like it will be helpful to yourself. And then here's the final slide on when you can use Google for research. As I mentioned earlier, you can use Google Scholar. You will follow all the same steps in downloading and citing. You can also sparingly use Google itself if you find an authoritative, credible source about your story or stories. Such sources may include the official website of the author or university-sponsored websites that discuss the author or texts you are writing about. And I've provided a couple of examples of credible websites. So the Poe Museum is actually affiliated with Edgar Allan Poe's official website, even though it's a separate site. And you could go there. You could also go to eapope.org. There's one I found that has an interview with Tim O'Brien from PBS. PBS.org is considered a credible website because it is public broadcasting system, which generally is considered historically accurate. If you're uncertain as to whether a particular website is credible or has authority for you to use, please ask me before you automatically use it in your paper. As I said in my course assignment, there are certain websites that you may find information that we've talked about or that you have thought about concerning the stories, but we don't know necessarily who wrote those websites. Things like eNotes and Shmoop and Free Mega Essays, all of those are possibly written by somebody who is knowledgeable in the field. Possibly they're written by students, graduate students. We really don't know who writes those, and they're more intended for general knowledge and discussion of the text rather than research on your particular topic. And I did write in the assignment that the majority of your sources still should be from the library database because all of the stories that you're working with have a lot of sources on them. They're all famous stories that are part of the literary canon. So anyway, that's sort of the first step in starting to gather and find research from the TCC library. If you have any questions about it, of course, please let me know. I will also be posting notes and/or lectures like this, or verbal lectures only, about other topics going along with research, such as how to cite the sources in your paper, not just and how to craft the works cited page once you have all of your citations gathered. So anyway, that's all for now. Bye-bye.